to play. Welcome back, my fellow gamers. This is Top 10 Gaming, and I am your host, Amanda McKnight. Hello, everyone. How have you been? I've missed you. Today, we'll be talking scary stories as we count down the top 10 Scary Poppy Playtime Creepypastas. So, prepare to get spooked. Number 10, Fields and Fields. Andrew once had a dream that he was standing in a field of poppies. They were bright and colorful, beautiful to behold. This was a recurring dream, and it had always felt safe. He had visited a field of poppies with his granddad when he was a kid, and it had been the perfect day when they went. But something here was different. Admittedly, Andrew hadn't been sleeping well since he played Chapter 2 of Poppy Playtime, and the flowers in his dream began to change. The red in them began to run. They turned to blood, and then from behind the poppies and the blades of grass came an army, a small army of poppy dolls. Their eyes wept blood, and they began to circle him. The dolls laughed and taunted Andrew in this sweet dream, turning nightmare. "You'll never wake up," they promised. And true enough, after playing that game and going to sleep that same night, Andrew never did wake up again. Number 9, Make a Friend. For my birthday, all I wanted was a Build-A-Bear, so my mom agreed to take me. I heard they even had video game characters that you could build, like Bowser, which of course you could then modify yourself. However, my mom got a flyer about a more affordable and new place opening up called Make a Friend. I didn't want to make a friend, I wanted to build a bear, but my mom said they also had plushies and that it was pretty much the same thing and that it was just as good. So of course she took me there instead. What I didn't know is that they had characters that even Build-A-Bear didn't have, even creepy characters like Huggy. I decided to build my own Huggy and even put a voice box in it to make Huggy say that he'd hug me forever. I thought it was pretty cool. I took Huggy with me everywhere for weeks, but like most toys, eventually I got bored of Huggy. That's when things started getting weird. Huggy seemed to come to life. When I went to pick up or move Huggy around my room, the toy said its catchphrase, "I'll hug you forever," and then proceeded to actually give me hugs. At least that's what it felt like. While weird, it didn't seem to be a harmful thing, so I didn't think to mention it. That is, until the attacks started happening. In our neighborhood, first animals started going missing, then kids, then whole families. All of them seemingly turning up smothered, asphyxiated, or crushed. I started to get suspicious of Huggy, and one day I noticed there was blood on his fur. I tried to tell my mom, but she wouldn't believe me. And now it's too late. My mom is gone, Huggy got her too, and now I'm next. And friends, before I move on to this next creepypasta, if you are enjoying these spooky stories, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8, Closing Time. It's always been hard for me to find the right toy to take home. I like Lego sets, board games, action figures, outdoor games, and so whenever my dad lets me pick something out, it usually takes me forever as I pace the aisles of the store trying to make up my mind. One time I was allowed to get something when we ran in to get some paper towels and milk late one night. I say late, but really it was just close to 9 p.m., but that was when the Walmart closed. So probably to the people working there, it was pretty late as they were eager to go home. I finally made up my mind when I heard someone giggle behind me. It was as though they were making fun of me, mocking my toy choice. I spun around, but there was no one there. There was a loud clatter further down the aisle as I watched a big box containing a Harry Potter Lego set topple to the ground. That's when I saw her, Poppy. She was up on the shelf and she was looking at me. Suddenly, the light shut off. The store was closed. Number 7, The Tape. My parents have a big collection of VHS tapes. I never really was interested in them until one day a mysterious VHS tape appeared in my locker at school. "Play Me" was written on the front of it, and the writing and style of the label reminded me of the vintage Poppy commercial tape from Poppy Playtime. I took it home, but when I put it in the VHS player, it had to be rewound. As I waited for it to rewind, I watched the screen. In the static, it looked like there was a face? The face looked like an aggressive version of Huggy Wuggy. Huggy smiled at me, showing off his pointy teeth, but then vanished. I was a little freaked out. The tape stopped rewinding and I hesitantly tapped play. When it started up, it was just like the vintage commercial from the beginning of the game. But when it got to the part where it stopped, the visuals got all wonky. Suddenly, a menacing Huggy Wuggy appeared on the screen, looking down at the camera. Feeling like he was actually looking down At me. Turn around, Huggy said, his mouth dripping with blood. I want to give you a big squeeze. Number 6. Behind glass eyes. Alyssa looked out from the glass eyes. She never thought this would happen to her. But there was a secret no one knew about when it came to these dolls, and the tours Playtime Co gave. They were free for a reason. They were free because in order to make realistic living dolls, they needed help. They needed souls. Alyssa couldn't remember how long it had been, but she knew at this point her family must have moved on. Her body was likely decomposed. Had it been months? Years? Was Alyssa even her real name? Or was that just the name given to her by her owner? And what would happen when the little girl who loved her now no longer did? When she grew up, Alyssa was afraid of the trash can because she knew it would lead to her likely being ripped apart or worse, crushed. But this was her life now as a Poppy doll, and there was no way out. Number 5. The closet. I was always scared of dolls, but after playing Poppy Playtime, even more so. I had a bunch of plushies in my room that had been gifted to me throughout the years by family members and friends, and I was basically too scared to even throw them out. After playing Poppy Playtime though, I couldn't look at them anymore. It was becoming impossible for me to sleep, and so I decided to put them in my closet. That way I didn't have to look at them at least. One day I came home from school and noticed that one of them, my stuffed tiger, Timothy, was in the kitchen. I asked my little sister if she'd taken Timothy out of the closet, and she said no. As I headed up the stairs to return Timothy to his prison, I noticed another stuffed animal on the stairs, and then another in the hallway. One was in the bathroom, one was on top of the bookcase. They had all escaped. I went towards my room, intending to get a bag and do what I'd been afraid to do for years, throw them out. But as I did, I noticed that everything around me in the house was getting bigger. Or was I getting smaller? Timothy looked at me with his red eyes and growled. "It's your turn to stay in the closet," he said. "It's our turn to roam free." Number 4. No spoilers. Jean liked Poppy Playtime a lot. She had played it multiple times, both parts, and at this point was no longer scared of any aspect of the game. On her 101st playthrough of Chapter 1, she listened to the Lathe Pierre closing VHS tape without really paying attention, as she already knew what was going to be said. But this time, it was different. She had been reciting along the words of the tape offhandedly as it played, knowing it by memory at this point, but some of the words weren't the same. Little things like instead of saying "close the factory," Pierre said "shut down the factory." And when it got to near the end, he spoke Jean's name. "Jean! Oh hi, am I boring you? So, you think you know what to expect? Well guess what, Jean? It's your turn to get scared because we're coming for you, Jean. No more jumping out from behind doors. Check the closet and you'll see what I mean. No spoilers." Jean froze. She wasn't sure what to do. She paused the game. She called for her parents, terrified for the first time in over 50 playthroughs. When they didn't answer, she nervously walked towards the closet. She opened it to see their limp corpses hanging on the coat hooks inside. Number 3. Real girl. I never thought that Poppy was real. That was my first mistake. I also never thought that a doll could hurt me. That was maybe my greatest mistake. During Christmas one year, I was given a limited edition Poppy Playtime doll. A real Poppy! Well, not a licensed version of the doll, but a custom-made one that my parents had ordered just for me. She even talked and had a program installed so she could interact with me. Nothing super advanced, but like you can do with something like Google or Alexa, we could have a little back and forth conversation if I asked the right question. However, what I didn't know is that Poppy was learning from my interactions, becoming like me, until one day, she became me. The changes were small at first, so I didn't notice. Darkening of her hair, small modifications to her outfit. One night I woke up in bed because I heard something. It was Poppy. She was singing. And when I looked over to her on the shelf I normally kept her on, she was bigger. She was my size. She was me. Number 2. Toxic. Celine had always loved floral perfumes. The richer the smell, the more she loved them. She would even surround her room in flowers to try to recreate the smell of her favorite floral perfumes that no longer existed. As she was arranging some of these flowers around her place one morning, she heard a knock at the door. When she answered it, there was no one there. But there was a peach-colored little parcel left on the welcome mat. "From your secret admirer," the front of it read. She opened the parcel and inside appeared to be a perfume with a scent she couldn't quite pinpoint. It was sweet, almost like cherry blossoms, but No. There was a hint of vanilla, a somewhat sharper citrus note to cut it, but a creaminess to the scent as well. What was that? She had smelled it before, she was sure of it. She pulled out her phone and began to search up some of the smells that she was noting. Poppy. That was it. She lowered her phone and in front of her was Poppy Playtime, the doll she had once thrown away as a girl because it wasn't as fragrant as advertised. Poppy held in her little hand a butcher's knife. It was then she remembered that poppies are toxic. Number 1. Pop! Hal had never thought he'd be so lucky. He was going to a real Playtime Co. factory. He had always heard about the tours and how amazing they were, and he even heard that upon leaving the factory, everyone got a hug from the original Huggy Wuggy. He was excited. The tour itself was amazing, and seeing all the shiny new toys was awe-inspiring. Hal wanted one of each by the end of the tour. As his parents tried to urge him away from the gift shop, he exclaimed that before he left, he needed a hug from Huggy. Rushing back towards the giant fur-covered toy, he wrapped his arms around his legs. Huggy Wuggy looked down at him and smiled, giving Hal a big squeeze. A squeeze that got tighter and tighter and tighter until Hal's head went pop. What are some of your favorite Poppy Playtime creepypastas? Which do you think are the most scary? What part of Poppy Playtime do you find the most fun? What part do you find the most horrifying? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Gaming, and I'm your host, Amanda McKnight. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep on gaming on. Pew pew!